Baby, welcome to the party.
Whoa! Hey!
I got you, B.
It's 100 in the spot. I won't keep going. It's 85 just to walk on. I don't take this. Cause a lot of these.
4 years after the music world lost Pop Smoke, one of his killers walked out of prison and straight into controversy. King Vermont Raskel, just 15 when he helped end the rising star's life, recently broke his silence in an interview that shocked millions. With no remorse in his voice and defiance in his words, he made statements that reignited old wounds and sparked fresh outrage. This is the untold story of what really happened that deadly February night in 2020, the legal aftermath that followed, and the explosive moment when Pop Smoke's killer finally spoke. The fatal night.
Police still don't know the motive behind this shooting, whether it was an attempted robbery or something else, but you can see that they are still out here investigating and searching for suspects.
A rising rap star shot to death before sunrise in a Hollywood Hills home.
February 19th, 2020 started like any other day in the Hollywood Hills, but by sunrise, the hip-hop world would lose one of its brightest rising stars. Bashar Baraka Jackson, better known as Pop Smoke, was just 20 years old and on top of the world. His deep voice and Brooklyn drill sound had taken over the charts, and he was in Los Angeles for what should have been a simple 4-day trip. The rapper was staying at a rented Airbnb in the Hollywood Hills, a luxurious home that belonged to Real Housewives star Teddy Mellencamp and her husband. Pop Smoke had been posting on social media throughout the day, showing off gifts from designer brands and celebrating his success, but one of those posts would prove to be a fatal mistake. In an Instagram story, Pop Smoke posted images showing the house's full address on gift packaging, revealing the exact location where he was staying. This single social media post became the breadcrumb trail that would lead his killers directly to his door. At around 4:30 in the morning, 5 hooded figures broke into the house through a second-story balcony. One was wearing a ski mask and carrying a handgun. The group moved quickly through the luxury home, their intentions clear from the start. What happened next was captured in chilling detail through witness testimony. The intruders held a gun to a woman's head and threatened to kill her. Pop Smoke, who had been in the shower, encountered the attackers in his own bedroom. The confrontation was brief but brutal. According to court documents, the 15-year-old shooter pistol-whipped Pop Smoke before firing 3 shots. The young rapper was hit multiple times. The woman in the house heard 3 gunshots after an altercation, and the attackers fled the scene immediately. Pop Smoke was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, but his injuries were too severe. He was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The motive for this deadly home invasion? The intruders stole Pop Smoke's diamond-studded Rolex watch, which they later sold for just $2,000. A young life, full of potential and promise, was ended over a piece of jewelry worth barely anything compared to the talent that was lost. The news spread quickly. Social media exploded with tributes from fellow artists, fans, and celebrities. Pop Smoke had only been in the mainstream spotlight for about a year, but his impact was undeniable. Songs like Welcome to the Party and Dior had made him a household name. He was supposed to be the future of drill music, the Brooklyn voice that would take the sound global. Instead, his family was planning a funeral. His mother, Audrey Jackson, and father, Greg Jackson, had to process an unimaginable loss. Their son, who they called Shar, was gone forever because of a senseless act of violence. The investigations and arrest. In the immediate aftermath of Pop Smoke's murder, the Los Angeles Police Department launched a full-scale investigation. The pressure was intense. This wasn't just another robbery gone wrong. This was a nationally recognized artist who had been killed in one of the city's most upscale neighborhoods. Detectives began piecing together evidence almost immediately. They reviewed surveillance footage from the area, analyzed the social media posts that had revealed Pop Smoke's location, and interviewed witnesses who had been at the house that night. The investigation moved quickly, but it would still take several months before arrests were made. On July 9th, 2020, 5 months after the murder, authorities arrested 3 adult men and 2 minors in connection with Pop Smoke's death. The arrest sent shockwaves through both the music community and the neighborhoods where the suspects lived. The main suspects included Corey Walker, who was 19 years old at the time of the murder, and 4 juveniles aged 15, 16, and 17. One of those juveniles was King Vermont Raskel, who went by the street name Blockstar. Raskel was just 15 years old when he participated in the deadly home invasion. The charges were serious. One adult suspect was charged with murder with a special circumstance, alleging the killing was committed during a robbery and burglary, while another was charged with attempted murder. The juveniles faced murder and robbery charges in juvenile court. Corey Walker emerged as a key figure in the case. Prosecutors alleged that he was the one who drove the group of teenagers to the Hollywood Hills that night. His role, though he wasn't the shooter, was crucial to the entire operation. According to court filings, Walker claimed he had instructed the juveniles not to fire, telling them that if they needed to defend themselves, they should use a flower vase rather than shoot someone. This claim would become central to his defense strategy. Walker's attorneys argued that while he participated in the robbery, he never intended for anyone to die. The problem was that intention didn't matter much under California law. If someone dies during the commission of a felony like robbery, everyone involved can be held responsible for murder. The investigation revealed disturbing details about how the crime was planned. Deputy District Attorney Hillary Williams explained that one of the defendants had scouted out Pop Smoke's location and helped Walker recruit 3 other minors to carry out the robbery. They had maintained constant communication throughout the operation. As the case moved through the legal system, it became clear that this wouldn't be a simple trial. The fact that most of the defendants were juveniles complicated everything. Under California law, juvenile offenders are treated differently from adults, with an emphasis on rehabilitation rather than pure punishment. This would later play a major role in the sentencing outcomes. The hip-hop community watched closely as the case developed. Fellow artists spoke out about the tragedy, many of them pointing to the dangers of flaunting wealth and location on social media. Pop Smoke's death became a cautionary tale about the risks that come with fame in the digital age. The legal proceedings and sentencing. The legal journey following Pop Smoke's murder was complicated by the ages of the defendants. With 4 of the 5 suspects being juveniles at the time of the crime, the case had to navigate both adult and juvenile court systems. This split created very different outcomes for those involved.
Rapper Pop Smoke's murder, sentenced to nearly 30 years in prison. 24-year-old Corey Walker pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter earlier this month.
The first defendant to accept a plea deal was one of the juveniles, who was 17 at the time of the murder. In April 2023, this 20-year-old defendant pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and home invasion robbery, receiving a sentence of 4 years and 2 months in a juvenile facility. The relatively light sentence reflected California's approach to juvenile justice, which focuses on rehabilitation. Judge J. Christopher Smith didn't hold back during the sentencing. "I don't know how you and your friends even came to the idea to rob someone whose life was taken unnecessarily." The judge said, "Mr. Jackson is not returning. His life is gone because of what you and your friends did. You owe. You owe." But the most significant sentencing came for the actual shooter. In May 2023, the 15-year-old who pulled the trigger admitted to shooting Pop Smoke during the home invasion robbery at around 4 a.m. on February 19, 2020. This teenager, whose identity was protected because of his age, received what seemed like a harsh sentence on paper. The teenage shooter was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison. However, California law has a crucial provision for juvenile offenders. Under California law, the maximum age for juvenile detention is 25 years old. This means that regardless of the sentence, the shooter would be released when he turned 25. This aspect of California's juvenile justice system became a point of controversy. Critics argued that someone who committed murder should face more serious consequences, regardless of age. Supporters of the law pointed out that juvenile brains are still developing and that young offenders deserve a chance at rehabilitation. The third juvenile defendant also settled his case through a plea agreement and was sent to a post-conviction juvenile housing facility. The details of this case were kept more private due to the defendant's age at the time. Meanwhile, Corey Walker's case took a different path. As the only adult defendant, he faced much more serious consequences. His trial was scheduled to begin in 2024, but plea negotiations dragged on for months. Walker's lawyer told Rolling Stone that negotiations fell through, but there was still a possibility they would agree. Finally, In February 2025, Walker accepted a plea deal. Walker pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and home invasion robbery with gun and gang enhancements, with prosecutors agreeing to a 29-year prison sentence. The murder charge was dropped as part of the agreement. During his sentencing hearing, Walker addressed Pop Smoke's family directly. Even though the Jackson family isn't here in court today, I would like to sincerely apologize for my unforgivable actions, although there's no apology that amounts to the taking of someone's life, Walker said. He took responsibility for driving the group of juveniles to the Airbnb where Pop Smoke was staying. Walker said he was deeply remorseful for his role in the rapper's death, acknowledging his dreadful partake in these crimes. Walker's attorneys explained their strategy after the hearing. Under the circumstances, we're confident this is the best outcome for Mr. Walker to still have a future, his lawyers told Rolling Stone, noting that even if they had won acquittal on the murder charge, Walker could have faced life in prison on the robbery charge with the enhancements. Pop Smoke's parents, Audrey and Greg Jackson, shared emotional statements during the legal proceedings. Audrey Jackson said, "On February 19th at 4:09 a.m., a gun was used to take my son from me. You know him as Pop Smoke. We called him Shar. Because of gun violence, I'll never see my son run up the front of our steps, taking them two at a time." The controversial release. In June 2024, something happened that shocked Pop Smoke's fans and reignited anger about the case. King Vermont Raskel was released from a juvenile detention center, reportedly to celebrate his 21st birthday after completing his 4-year sentence. The release came as a surprise to many who have been following the case. Raskel, also known as Blockstar, wasted no time making his presence known on social media. Images of the young man celebrating on social media sparked anger among Pop Smoke's fans, but it was his words that truly caused outrage. The 21-year-old celebrated his release from prison by posting a message to his rivals. "Come take a shot." The provocative statement came just days after another rapper, Julio Fulio, was killed in Florida. The timing made Raskel's message seem especially reckless and disrespectful. Using the Instagram handle of @VBlockstar3, Raskel reposted news of his release and directed reporters to contact his manager for interviews. He was clearly not trying to stay under the radar. Instead, he seemed to embrace the attention that came with being connected to such a high-profile case. But Raskel's behavior after his release got even more controversial. On June 27, 2024, Raskel posted a video of himself cutting off his ankle monitor while sitting in the front seat of a car, then tossing it away in what appeared to be a parking lot. The video showed him dressed in a hoodie with his face covered by a mask. The caption on his post read, "This not to influence any negative behavior. This is what I've been dealing with my whole life. So, to be violated for my safety, I refuse to let them determine if I feel safe or not." He also posted an Instagram story showing a phone call with his probation officer, who was expressing concern for his safety. The move to cut off his monitoring device was particularly bold, considering he was still under supervision. It showed a level of disregard for the legal system that many found disturbing, especially given the serious crime he had been involved in. Then came the interview that would truly set the internet on fire. Raskel showed up to the No Jumper podcast studio in Los Angeles, demanding payment for their coverage of his prison release. He confronted the podcast about all the attention they had given his story and threatened them not to cover him again without compensation. But Raskel didn't stop there. He eventually sat down for a full interview with No Jumper's Adam22, and what he said during that conversation shocked millions. "I'm not sorry about nothing," Raskel told the podcast. "It should have never happened, but I ain't sorry. If I could go back, I'll go back, but I ain't sorry. Niggas die every day." He continued, "People die every day. Pop Smoke was rapping about it, all types of stuff, so I ain't sorry about it. I send my condolences to the family. I wish it never happened, but I don't regret nothing." Raskel tried to justify his lack of remorse by referring to his upbringing. "Growing up, my people, my family told me, you ain't sorry for nothing. Whatever you did it for a reason, and stand on it," he explained. He also denied that the shooting was premeditated. Raskel claimed, "Nobody intended to get hurt. We was just kids being kids from the hood, and there was too much movement from everybody, too much saint going on, just too much saint going on. It wasn't intentional." The internet's reaction was swift and furious, comment sections filled with outrage. One user on No Jumper's Instagram post wrote, "69 is alive and well. George Zimmerman is alive and well. Nipsey killer is chilling, and so is Von's killer. Nobody gonna do none, and we've seen it happen time and time and time again." The comment reflected a deep frustration with what many saw as a pattern of people getting away with violence against rappers. Fans of Pop Smoke were particularly hurt by Raskel's complete lack of remorse. Here was someone who had participated in the murder of a beloved artist, served just 4 years, and was now walking free while showing zero regret for his actions. The phrase "kids being kids" was especially offensive to many, as if robbery and murder were just normal teenage behavior. The controversy highlighted a major debate about California's juvenile justice system. While supporters argue that young offenders deserve rehabilitation and second chances, critics point to Raskel's behavior as evidence that some juveniles simply aren't rehabilitated by the system. His defiant attitude and lack of remorse suggested that his time in detention had done little to change his mindset. Pop Smoke's mother responds. As the controversy around Raskel's interview spread across social media, all eyes turned to Pop Smoke's family. How would they respond to such disrespectful comments from one of their son's killers? The answer came in July 2024, when Audrey Jackson, Pop Smoke's mother, sat down for an interview with Hot 97's TT Torres. Jackson revealed that she didn't listen to Raskel's interview with No Jumper. This wasn't because she was unaware of it. People had been reaching out to her constantly, telling her about the disrespectful things Raskel had said, but she made a conscious choice not to consume that content. "I felt a way when you just said he was being disrespectful because I've been told he's been interviewing and being disrespectful," Jackson told TT Torres. Her response showed the difficult position she was in, aware of what was happening but trying to protect her own mental health. Her reasoning was powerful and showed incredible strength. "It doesn't make sense to hold on to some sort of anger and bitterness that you can't do nothing with," Jackson explained. "I'm not going to hold on to something because then you've won. You've eaten my soul. I can't let you do that." Jackson acknowledged that she had been told about Raskel's comments and knew they were disrespectful. "I gotta let that go because that'll eat me up. I gotta let that go," she said. It was a statement that reflected both wisdom and pain, the understanding that holding on to anger would only hurt her more while doing nothing to bring her son back. But Jackson didn't just focus on forgiveness or moving on. She also had a message for Raskel about his future. "The bottom line is, your life is over. His life is finished. He's living, but if that's his approach to what he's done, life is done for him," Jackson stated. This statement was particularly powerful. Jackson wasn't calling for revenge or violence. Instead, she was pointing out a harsh reality. Someone who shows no remorse for taking a life and approaches freedom with such a defiant attitude has already doomed themselves to a difficult future. And whether through more legal troubles, street justice, or simply the weight of their own choices, Raskel's life trajectory looked bleak. Jackson emphasized that news about Raskel is not a part of my world and that she has people who check on her when things circulate online. She was drawing boundaries around what she would allow into her life, protecting her peace while still being aware of developments. Instead of focusing on the past and on those who wronged her family, Jackson was looking forward. She revealed plans to celebrate her son's birthday through her organization, Shoot for the Stars, which works to change lives through creative engagement, education, access to technology, and inspirational global experiences. The contrast was striking. While Raskel was out on social media cutting off ankle monitors and bragging about his lack of remorse, Pop Smoke's mother was building something positive from her pain. She was ensuring that her son's legacy would be about inspiration and opportunity, not just about the tragedy of his death. Jackson's response earned widespread praise from the public. People admired her grace under impossible circumstances. Many pointed out that she was showing more maturity and wisdom than the person who had taken her son's life, despite being the one who had suffered the greatest loss. Her words also highlighted the different ways people process grief and injustice. While some might have called for harsher punishment or expressed anger publicly, Jackson chose a path of self-preservation and forward movement. She understood that anger, however justified, wouldn't bring her son back or change the past. Throughout her interview, Jackson's love for her son, Shar, as she called him, was evident. She spoke about him not as the rapper Pop Smoke, but as her child who would never run up the front steps of their home again, never celebrate another birthday with his family, never grow old. The public response to Jackson's interview was overwhelmingly supportive. Comments poured in praising her strength and dignity. Many people said they didn't think they could show such grace if they were in her position. Her approach became a model for how to maintain dignity and humanity even when dealing with people who show neither. The bigger picture and Pop Smoke's legacy. Pop Smoke's murder became more than a celebrity tragedy. It exposed deeper issues around fame, violence, and justice. One of the biggest lessons came from social media. Before his death, Pop Smoke unknowingly revealed the address of the house where he was staying by posting gift packaging online. That single post became a deadly mistake and a warning across the music industry. Artists and security teams began taking online privacy far more seriously. The case also sparked debate about juvenile justice. One of the people involved was only 15 at the time of the crime and was released after spending several years in juvenile detention under California law, which emphasizes rehabilitation over lifelong punishment for young offenders. Some believed the sentence was far too lenient for a murder case, while others argued the system was doing what it was designed to do, give young offenders a chance to change. Beyond the courtroom, Pop Smoke's legacy only grew stronger. His debut album, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, topped charts and proved his influence stretched far beyond drill music. Songs like Dior and For the Night continue reaching millions of listeners worldwide. His death also renewed conversations about violence in hip-hop, following losses like Nipsey Hussle and XXXTentacion. At just 20 years old, Pop Smoke had already transformed modern rap. Though his life was cut short, his voice, music, and influence continue to inspire new generations, ensuring his legacy lives far beyond the tragedy that ended his life. Thanks for watching. What do you think about this story, and how do you think Pop Smoke's legacy continues to shape hip-hop today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Until next time.